So I've been thinking a lot about Henry Cejudo recently, and obviously he has a huge fight this Saturday against Aljamain Sterling, UFC title fight. He's a 2-division champion already, and the other reason I've been thinking about him a lot is the amazing audio documentary podcast that Ryan Warner put together about Henry Cejudo, and I've been thinking about the impact that Henry had on wrestling, right? And I think it was a tremendous impact that beyond him just being an Olympic champion at 21 years of age, at the time the youngest Olympic champion in USA wrestling history. That was a huge impact. That's a huge accomplishment, right? But I think his impact post-2008 has probably been even greater and more significant to wrestling in America today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why and why many of the wrestlers today maybe owe a little thanks to Henry Cejudo and what he was able to do. And if you don't know a little bit, the cliff notes of Henry's story, he's a wrestler in Arizona, superstar wrestler, and USA Wrestling identifies him as a candidate for an experiment. Someone that can come and move to Colorado Springs and train at the Olympic Training Center and see how quickly this guy can go from an elite high school wrestler to an elite international wrestler. And the experiment worked. It worked wonderfully. He made the team in 2007, and in 2008, he was the Olympic champion, right? So a tremendous success for Team USA, and he sort of proved out that, hey, if you get this guy around the best coaches, around better training partners, you can accelerate their growth and they can contend at the highest levels right away, which is incredible. So when he won in 2008, I think it shifted wrestling in America. And I say USA Wrestling, but what I really mean is just the overall landscape of the elite high school and youth wrestlers in America. And there was an added and increased emphasis by USA Wrestling for around age-level world championships. Cadet and junior worlds became a thing. They became a huge thing. They became a huge goal for the best wrestlers in high school. Whereas previously, high school wrestlers, they wanted to win their state. Or maybe some of them had ambitions of winning NHSCAs or Super 32 or something like that. But by and large, or Fargo. But by and large, the world stage really wasn't on their mind. That's for post-college, right? Well, U17s now, this is like, maybe not even debatably the toughest tournament in America, one of the hardest to win, that in Super 32 probably. And that's because USA Wrestling really adjusted some of their tactics. They adjusted their investment around these younger wrestlers. And they made it more of a homogenous group. And I've been at these, I'm fortunate enough, I've been able to watch some of these training camps. I watched Dayton Fix train with Reese Humphrey. I watched Yanni Diakomahalis train with world team members. I watched some of the best guys in the country. I watched Gable go with Jake Varner when he was a sophomore in high school, okay? So they made this homogenous group and started putting all these guys together, and lo and behold, the young guys got better, and they got better really, really fast, okay? So that's how the system sort of changed and was altered around believing, hey man, these guys, we can get them up and get them a little bit better. And then they started to believe, right? And that's the second part. I think Henry really inspired this next generation. Okay, and if you look before 2008, the 13 teams before 2008, Henry's the only guy that was college eligible. Okay, he didn't wrestle in college, but it was college eligible, was that age range that made a team. And then you look the next 13 years after Henry, and I'm going to rattle off a list of names of guys that made world teams, not just contended. They were on the team from 2008 to now. You've got Dustin Schlater, Jake Varner, Kyle Snyder, Jaden Cox, Zane Rutherford, Dayton Fix, Gable Stevenson, Yanni Diakomahalis, okay? All those guys. Plus, sitting in Final X currently, you've got Vito Arujao and Aaron Brooks. So that list could be added. And Gable Stevenson still has a year left, by the way. So that's another guy that could make yet another team. So when you contrast the previous 13 teams with the next 13 teams, right? And the apex of that, right dead in the middle of that, was Henry Cejudo, winning the Olympic gold medal in 2008. And since then, you look to 2016, Kyle Snyder became the youngest Olympic champion, right? And then after that, at 21 years of age, also Gable Stevenson, youngest Olympic champion in USA Wrestling history. And that's to me, I think that's a big part of Henry's impact. And you listen to Daniel Cormier's interview, he sort of gives the landscape, right, of what it was like. That he's like, man, when I was 20 years old, I wasn't even thinking about making a world team. I was thinking about being a college kid. I was thinking about, hanging out with a girl. I was thinking about, you know, wrestling NCAAs, NCAA champions. That was what I was thinking about. Now, and that was the routine thought. That wasn't just unique to Daniel Cormier, who was a two-time Olympian in his own right. That was just the conventional thought as a collegiate wrestler. It's like, okay, I'll wrestle in high school, which will get me to college. I'll wrestle in college, and then I'll start to make world teams. Now, if you're an elite 20-year-old, it almost sounds strange if you exclusively focus on folk style, right? It's almost weird. It's like, well, why isn't this guy trying to make teams as a sophomore, junior? He's clearly ready, right? And that's one of the big changes. It's not like this wasn't 40 years ago. This was 2008. And Daniel Cormier is giving you that sort of comparison of how much the landscape has changed. And I think it's changed for the better. And I think it's changed to the benefit of USA Wrestling and to many of these wrestlers. I think they owe at least a small thanks or a little bit of gratitude to what Henry Cejudo did.